Senator Connor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe there's an amendment at the desk. I asked that the reading of the amendment be waived, and I asked to be heard on the amendment.
The reading is waived, and Senator, you may be heard on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. As Senator Morahan explained, this bill would authorize the expenditure of $500,000 to erect a memorial, and it covers the Persian Gulf War, which I believe, and we define elsewhere in state law, as that war in 1991 to push the Iraqis out of Kuwait. And it also has an addendum and says, oh, and those serving in Iraq and in Afghanistan, which we know that's in the present day. With respect to that 1991 war, the then President Bush Sr. had the good sense to stop and not to try and rebuild Iraq. He was criticized for it at the time in some circles, but the fact is, I think the occurrences in these past years in Iraq have shown the wisdom of it. And I would have no objection to a memorial to that war. I believe U.S. casualties were 97 people, something like that, maybe 100. But I really have a concern with a memorial to the present military actions in Afghanistan and Iraq. I can't recall, and not that I've been around forever, us ever doing that. Now, I don't propose we wait, as we did for those Korean War veterans. I don't propose we wait until many years later. Can you hear? Sorry.
So that all the members can hear the remarks of Senator Connor. Thank you, Senator Connor.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I was saying, I certainly think it would be appropriate to have a memorial to those who served in 1991 in that action. That war has since passed. I really question the wisdom of building a memorial to a war that's still ongoing, the outcome of which we cannot be certain of, and a war which I think never should have been fought. We never should have invaded Iraq. It was done on false premises, false claims of intelligence reports. The Congress was misled into it, and we've suffered the loss of thousands of young men and women who bravely serve our country. And certainly someday they should have a memorial, but not now, not till the war is over. With respect to Afghanistan, it's the war we should have fought, we should have won, we should have stuck with it, we should have captured Osama bin Laden. He attacked our state and nation. And the effort was diverted to Iraq, and he's still wherever with his devious plots, and the Taliban seem to come out and resurge constantly in Afghanistan. I object to spending this state money on this memorial while the war is ongoing. My amendment would take that same amount of money and put it into a scholarship fund for the children of the men and women who serve in these wars. And I think that's what we ought to be doing while the war is ongoing, taking care of the people who serve and their children and families. We should be taking care, and I know many of my colleagues here have sponsored bills. We should eliminate those anomalies. Why are our brave National Guard troops who go over there and get wounded and come back, and then why do they get 30 days medical care when an active duty or Army reservist come back and they're taken care of as long as needed? We're not treating the people who are serving there fairly. We're not treating them the way we should. They didn't make the bad political decision to go to this war. They're serving their country honorably, bravely, and with great self-sacrifice. And our first obligation while this war is going on is to take care of them and their children, and not to build a stone monument to a war that hasn't ended yet. There's time for that later. There's time for that later, when and if this war ever concludes. Someone, and I don't want to say who, talked about it going on for 100 years. God forbid it goes on for 100 days more. So I urge everyone to support my amendment. Let's take care of the children of those New Yorkers who served there before we worry about standing out there on the mall and cutting a ribbon like a bunch of big shots with a memorial behind us. Mr. President, I urge my amendment be adopted.